Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is Mariano and Carolina. It's a real pleasure to be again in Volcano. Thank you, Janman, Marianne, for the invitation. It's my fourth time here. Amazing event. So we are going to talk with Caro a little bit about, I'm sure I can see the clock, about investments and I think, but first of all, I would like Caro to introduce herself, and maybe we can talk about what you have done as an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Mariano. Thank you for inviting me to this amazing event. It's my first time here, so really glad that I accept. So I'm a tech entrepreneur, software engineer. I'm a second startup. My first company was a virtual makeover app that was acquired by Ulta in 2018. And after 1 year of non-compete, I decided to start a new company. So really passionate about building tech products. I love to see the evolution of putting my creativity, but also resources, and to build a team to have like a consistent product evolution. I love that. So main clients are based in New York and in Paris, now expanding to Brazil. We have 4 years in operation. We have a pre-seed round that was led by my main competitor in my previous company, a tech woman from Taiwan, that I approached her in a cold email. And she performed a due diligence with her family office. And then I met Mariano and Magma and some other investors. And yes, I am also, the second time, I decided to be not so much in the spotlight at the beginning, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and to build more in behind. I was more anxious to have clients than investors or like to be in the media. And also I decided to not fundraise with family or friends at the beginning. So to put my own money from the first sale of the company into the second one. And it was a really conscious decision that I am glad I have made. Also, it changed a lot the time in your life where you start a company. It's different when you are like 23, when you are like 33. So really different experience with investors and different experience in terms of how to build a company without that in the table.
Excellent. So, with the first company, you started at your country, at Uruguay. No? It's important when sometimes we talk about starting companies in small or middle markets. Uruguay, the population of Uruguay is how many millions?
3.3, and it's really stable. It doesn't change.
Okay. So you decided to start this company. Why? The first one? You're an engineer.
I was working in Mexico, actually, in a company that was selling SAP. I work in the pre-sales department. And I saw the opportunity to build a product. I saw like there was something missing, and I was passionate about it. I have no conscience about what it involved to be an entrepreneur, and that it will take mostly of my life for many years. In Uruguay, we are always seeing like the country as small, and like it's like a lab where you have amazing talent, but you need to go outside to grow. So you are always looking where you are going to expand, where are going to be your first clients, and many times it's outside Uruguay. So you need to be prepared to compete in a global environment. So the goal is to create startups and companies and products that don't fit a geographical situation, but a global situation. So the country has a stability, but also has taxes that are super beneficial for software, to export software without taxes. So it helps and it promotes to go outside and to be competitive. What you need to be aware is that you are going, like my main competitor in the first company was a Canadian company that fundraised 40 million, and we ended up being in second place. When we started, there were like 6 competitors, and when we sold it, there were 22, but we ended up really top. And we didn't fundraise 40 million coming from Uruguay.
How many did you fundraise, and from how many investors?
There was 40 investors, We keep 23% of the shares of the company, each of the co-founders. We end up fundraising 2.5 million in like the 7 years. But every year we were like almost dying, like for like 5 years. So it was really hard.
And how was the relation with the investors in the previous company? And now we're gonna talk about the new one.
I think you end up having like merry marriage, you know? And they like have a different evolution in each of them. The family thing is really like something that I don't want to experience again. The pressure of having money from a family member, something that was not the best experience for me. We end up giving back much more money than we received.
Good returns,
Yes.
but during the process, friends and family was a pressure.
But to manage the anxiety of someone close is hard. And then there were a couple of investors from San Francisco with different culture fit that were not the best partners in terms of the co-founders' relationship. So I didn't have the best stories about that. It was a great outcome for me to be able to sell the company at 28 years old and a couple of millions, so we returned, and it ended up being a really good transaction for us. They keep the operation in Uruguay, the double number of engineers, so good for the country, good for the team, a lot of stock options for the employees. We always keep like the playbook that we learned from 500 Startup or for like the ecosystem to have employees with stock options. In this company, everyone has a stock options plan, and for me, are my co-founder. The team is the co-founder that I don't have this time. But yes, I didn't pick the investors that time. It was more like the ones that can give me money, and they end up not being the best equation for a marriage.
Okay, so and then a couple of years after, you decided to start again. Why? What was the trigger and how?
I was really conscious about. No, sorry, I'm not conscious about myself, but I do a lot of like therapy to learn more about my skills and my not like
An ikigai.
not the best and the worst, but I end up learning that I am really like passionate about building products, but this time I wanted to build it with a culture field. So for me, it was equally important what I was building with the feeling of working with a team that feels empowered and feels that I really trust on them. I was not micromanaging them. So like, you know, having another story or like creating another culture. In the last 3 years, nobody has resigned. I ended up asking them to reduce salaries at a point. I said I need to remove one engineer, and they decide to decrease their salaries 10% so they don't have anyone out from the team. So I really believe that cultural fit is something you work from day zero, and it's really hard to change. And that involves also your investors. The anxiety that an entrepreneur manages with himself is so hard that if you have also investors with that anxiety translating to you, I think it's not like no human being, and not also like a person who also needs to carry kids in that period of time, and breastfeeding, and like, you know, it's something that is not manageable. So I think cultural fit between like teams and investors, the patience that an investor needs to have, and when they look at the eye, you need to keep feeling that they trust that you're going to get it. And perhaps in the worst moments, you need to have some investors that you look in the eyes and they keep having, like, you feel like in their guts, they keep trusting on you. So that's what I feel.
Okay, we'll reach that point. So you're a female founder, an engineer, trying to build a global product from Uruguay, a very small market. Easy peasy, I guess, no? So, but maybe you could explain what you're actually doing, the product of this new company, IQ, and to understand at what level globally you are and which kind of clients you have.
So our main clients are based in New York, are beauty companies, like big conglomerates, Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, Chanel, Nest. And we are now, after 3 years, starting to work directly with headquarters in Paris, with the CMO of L'Oreal. And me as a founder, from April this year, I have focused on Open Brazil, so pitching to fintech, e-commerce, and beauty in Brazil. What we do is we translate unstructured data from social into structured data. We have a dashboard, a SaaS platform, and we started generating AI to understand social content for different outcomes, to improve your competitive landscape, to win over competitors, to have more data where they are investing, but also to develop a product strategy. So where you need to invest, how many products you need to launch. So we operate, like we give services to different parts of a company. Some of them are completely independent in the platform after 2 years, operating 53 different markets with IQ after due diligence of 8 months with main competitors that are really big, like Spade, and they end up choosing IQ. So really glad I have a team that is impressive, and many times we need to give insights to leadership, to CEOs, CMOs. So we work with many different layers of the companies. And yes, I'm really passionate about the product that we are building. Like, there is a component yet of like giving them a little bit of support of a team, like customer success team, and a little bit of consulting at the beginning. But the AI is, we are seeing a revolution, and it's going to be translate into the products that these companies use. I think they are looking into these kind of products more and more. And the bar is going to be higher and higher.
So you're actually doing a project with AI, solving a real problem. It's a use case of an application of AI, Latin technology or LATAM technology with global companies. Is that the case of what you're doing? I guess you're very proud.
It's really hard. Like I am close to a VP of Meta, the head of shop, that I love him. He's from Venezuela. He's based in New York, really high. And he say, you know, it's easy to sell like a shampoo in New York than what you are trying to sell. Like you know, like where you are getting into, no? We are giving insights also with Meta to their customers. It's impressive, but in some cases they don't have the ability to translate that into insights automatically. So we help them with some things for their clients. I think we are going to, like the revolution of AI is here, of course. We are seeing amazing things, but then how that translates into my business and the outcome, like what I will ask to that, you know, in return. So which tools my teams are going to use that have AI but really impact the business. And I think that it's a trend that we are seeing. Teams are being pushed to use more AI, but the companies who understand their business and what they need to get from AI is going to be the companies that are going to be outliers. And we want to be outliers in that.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Caro. And so now entering the topic, more the topic of this conversation. The relation between founders, startups, and VCs, we have discussed this many, many times. On one side, we as VCs, we think that we add a lot of value, and that's what we say, that's what we offer when we are talking with founders. And then is the perception of the value that we think that we are adding, and then is the perception of the founders. And usually, at your first startup, as you mentioned it, you didn't have any chance to choose which investors you will have, but you have what was available. Do you think that has changed? That you need to choose, and you have, if you can, to choose which investor to have, and based on what to decide which is the investor you would like to have?
This time I am the only founder, so the struggle of being lonely is really like something that in some moments it feels heavier than other moments, it's like, so having the right investors is like having a board that is there for you, that is functional to your needs. So, but that is a relationship based in trust that I feel is not, you're not going to develop the same trust with every investor. And every investor is not give you the same value at the same moment. Something that you need to be also conscious about that, so you don't feel like, okay, like why I choose these ones, or like why I have this in the cap table, I don't want them. Perhaps, okay, there is a moment in time that they're going to be more relevant, But there are the active investors who you feel that you are by your side, although perhaps you don't talk every day, but you feel like the force, like you feel they're pushing from you without seeing that every day, or without seeing like, I don't know, an interaction email every day, but you can count on them. So if you need to call someone, or like you need an advice, or you need a contact, they're going to fight for that contact no matter what. And I feel that's something that it perceives as common, but it's not so common. People don't like to expose themselves to open other doors for others. It's not so common. When an investor chooses you and invests on you and chooses to keep working in your pipeline, in your network, that's something unique, and it's not the most common thing. And of course, it's the value that the VCs add more than the money, but I feel that there are funds that are that gymnastic is something of the daily base of how they push their startups and they help their startups. And it's not always the common outcome of an investment.
Okay. It's interesting what you mentioned about push, because many times we as VCs, I don't want to say we, but the balance between pushing and just helping when you are needed or not, that's difficult to manage for VCs, because we usually are listening to many companies, and so we have experience with other companies. So shutting the mouth and not saying all you think is not easy, but also when you're seeing that the founder is making a mistake or that it could be better, it's not easy to manage. But how do you feel that from the side of the entrepreneur? One thing. And the other is something that we have discussed a lot. We as investors, we like giving advice many times, even when they don't ask us. And we like when the entrepreneurs listen, but we don't like when they listen too much. If they say yes to everything that we suggest, so you're not strong enough with your conviction, that's a red flag. How do you manage that? Being stubborn, but not too much stubborn.
First of all, I am really anxious. So if I perceive that someone is anxious, about myself, to push me, I start feeling that. I think the best investors are the ones that manage patience really well. So they push and they know how to back up, to go out and to say, okay, operate. I give you my advice. I give you who you need to contact. If you're not doing, perhaps it's not best timing for you. I would love, and I think I have investors who understand when to push and when to let me manage, in some cases, we all know, to build good companies and to build good relationships, time is everything. Now you see that the movie, when you see it at the end, you see, okay, that moment was really bad, and but it was needed, and the time thing is really important. And I always think that in some cases, entrepreneurs need the push, and it's healthy to have someone who is creating that as a board, you know? It's like someone that can understand where you are getting into the right, in the wrong path, or like you need to change something. And, but it's important to understand the energy that the entrepreneur has. So to manage that in between is really important, I think. Like, to be a good investor is to know how to balance that. Always keeping in mind that the other person and the entrepreneur has more anxiety than you in see the success, you know? Like, it's a combination, I think, but I think good investors know that you are struggling with so many things. I love Mariano. Like, the first thing that Mariano says in the calls is like, how is the pyme goes, you know, at home? Like, everything is in order, like marriage, okay, kids, okay, health, and then like, okay, now we go into the startup, you know? So he always check on me on that side, and then he went directly into the business. And I think for me, it's like, oh, I can breathe and tell you in a like trust relationship, I want to kill my husband this week, or the kids, you know, like something that we have been in that position many times. But it's like, I can say the truth, you know, and that feeling is something that you build over time, but the other person gives you the space. And then I always remember this like anecdote that I was like trying to get Serena Williams to pitch her, and you helped me to contact her husband. You move like every contact. You ask in the portfolio companies who has access, who was in contact with the husband, like, and that kind of thing is the things that for me are like amazing. No, that you want to be bold. You know, you don't keep like. I know you have contacts in Latin America that are impressive, but if I want someone in the US, you don't say, Caro, no, we operate, you know, no, we are going to do everything. Someone needs to have a contact there. Like, and that kind of thing is the thing that for me is like it's more than money. Like, in some cases, in my second time, I don't need the money as much as I need the contacts and the support and to be there. And for me, that's the first thing why I want investors is to have that people near me.
You mentioned it, trust. So many times we talk with entrepreneurs that they when they talk with us, investors, sometimes they are tempted not to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Maybe because you have a relation of investors. You can have a very good personal relation, but in the end, one is an investor and the other is a founder. So would you advise to have this open kimono and transparency? We always say that, but sometimes for founders, it's not easy to tell the truth, and usually when things are not going well. So what would you advise to the founders about that?
I learned that the best asset is that you can sleep at night without feeling you are keeping information that's for someone who trusts on you. So I feel that, I don't know if it is age, if it is being a mom, but I don't have time to pretend with anybody. I don't want to pretend to an investor. I don't want to pretend, like perhaps with a client that you need to sell like more, like I am going to develop everything in 2 months, like sign the contract. No, but like I really believe the best asset a person can have is to like be able to, you know where you are, you know who you are, what you want to build. So to be honest, it's the best asset an entrepreneur can have. And I always remember, like the first call with you, I remember, but I also remember the first call with Sasha, that we fight. Like, he wants to see more numbers and more growth.
It's and a backup, yes.
He was like to push me to have a better like pipeline and a better, scale-up plan. And I say, okay, like this is what I believe that I can get, and for me it's like a lot, and he was like, should I say to this guy, yes, I will be, like the billion-dollar company, and I will create the numbers, because the numbers are like hard to make, like it's easy to make. But it was like a good call. I remember it was like 30 minutes of both of us trying to, to put the other in like...
A challenge,
yes. Yeah, and I like the dynamics of like, okay, you push me, I fight for my like where I am, and you understand my points, but you also give me the perception you want more. Okay, I get it. I also want, but I think an asset to make it like, I think it's not worth it to start a relationship without saying the truth. Is like starting with the wrong foot.
Well, they say that, it's data, but the average marriage is less than the average relation between a VC and a founder. It's longer, so it's even more challenging than a marriage. But what about other things? Not only the relation with the GPs of a fund. What about other things about choosing an investor? Community, for example. Is it important for you to know other founders that are part of a portfolio and to connect with them? Do you consider that important?
Yes, I'm impressed with the chat of Newtopia founders, with the help that I receive. I am also an endeavor entrepreneur, so I always thought and I always believe in that connecting with peers is key for an entrepreneur. I think communities right now are like more important than ever in terms of how they add value, but also you are like creating real friends, people that really start thinking on you or like making connections. It's an extension of the network, or like that like a fund can offer are of course the entrepreneurs that are being invested by that fund or that part of the ecosystem. Yes, I believe it's like you get it. You know another entrepreneur, and you know how hard it is to get to that point of success or to be in a low point. So there's nobody who is going to understand you more than another entrepreneur. And I feel that is unique, because to be an entrepreneur is really, really hard. It has so many low points, and still it's the most amazing thing for me, and I believe that connecting with others is like essential. I have really good anecdotes about friends that I now call them friends that are part of Newtopia or are endeavor entrepreneurs, or they really understand what you are struggling, and there are people that are often really open to give you access to their key like main contacts. Perhaps they have like a really hot account and you ask them, can you make me an intro? Okay, can you wait 2 weeks till I close this? And they know that you are like really like into that contact and you need to wait, but you also are like, you close it, you sign it, and you end up being more concerned about him like signing it than the intro. And they say, okay, like, can you wait a little bit? And I get it, because I have some pipeline companies that I need to wait to make an intro. Because, so it really believes that you have someone that is like helping you. So I think it's key. I think for sure the fund has a lot to do in the culture around the founders and the dynamics around the founders. So I think are like the parents, like in a way of like managing the culture of the community and how that translates. Because at the end you are like a copy paste of the people that you end up emulating culture and emulating good acts, and like you want to like to be part of that community. You understand there are codes. So I think you need to see the founders to understand which are the codes that the community is going to have, because at the end they are going to take that culture into what is going on that chats, on that, you know.
And related to that, and last question, anything to say about female founders and
That's another panel. Harder that it's really like, I don't want to get this in a gender lens. I always think that I take in my advantage to be a woman and not a disadvantage. And when I happen to be in a situation where I know it's bad, and I don't want my daughter to go through that, and I have many, many anecdotes and stories that are harder to digest at this moment. I don't have the time to focus on that. I am building a business, but when I have the time to talk or to go deep into that, I can say that it's harder than it seems, that we have many things that are not at our favor. Like, it's not the same. It's still a dominated male club of friends. And I am proud to try to change that. And I am proud to be a role model of it's possible to be a tech women entrepreneur, to be backed by funds and to fundraise, you know, but it's harder than, it is what it is, but we go through things that male don't need to go through that.
And the advantage?
I don't know. I love my life. I love how I try to balance everything, although some months I am really bad at balance. And the advantage is that people don't see us coming and then we are here in the spotlight, you know? Like, people think we are creating a business for fun or like, and we really, like, we are really ambitious. We love also to have our ownership about money. And I keep saying that because it's good to the world to hear women saying that out loud. For men, it's so obvious that they pursue success, but we pursue success with going good, like for our teams, for our family, for like, you know, we are trying to do many things at the same time, and many times we forgot that we are also want to be, you know, the next unicorn. And I feel that in some cases we need to remember that. We don't want to play another game, we want to be in that game. And perhaps people think we are less
ambitious.
Yes, and it's not. And I think perhaps we are not so loud about that. We are like doing when we do other things, that raising a family or like, you know. And I like to my mom doesn't have that opportunity. I love that I live in a world that, although I have some disadvantage, I have the opportunity, you know? So it's not impossible. You can do it. And yes, you need to like know how to learn the game. That is a different game because you are trying to manage many things. And you're going to have support not from the obvious people at the beginning. You know, like it's a combination of facts. But I think we are living in a world that allows that. And that's something unique, and we need to be looking the half of the glass that is full and not the half that is empty. We are going to have time for that.
Excellent. Well, a big round of applause for Caro, amazing founder.
Gracias.
Thank you very much.